How's it going, guys? So in this video, it's not so much like a follow along or a tutorial in the conventional sense. This is more a bit of a deep dive into the new asset system that we've got for particles or replacement particles. So there's not going to be any shading or any how to do this terrain kind of thing. This is literally just a video on how to show you, to show you how our particle system works with the new geometry nodes that are in Blender 2.93. So I'm going to drop an island in, or a mesh in from Nodescapes, because this is our favorite mesh. And I'm going to scale this up. Nodescapes, just bear with me 1 second. I set the scale of this to 10 and 10. I always forget that I can just do that. So yeah, let's scale it up to 10 and let's hide our Nodescapes. So now we've got our mesh. Let's start adding some assets. We're not going to be doing any shading. We're not going to be doing anything with water. We're just going to be using the assets. Now, you won't have all of these depending on the version that you're in. If you're in Ultimate, then you will. If you're in Pro, you'll have all of the grass, I think, all of the rocks. If you're in Light, you won't have all of them. But you can use any just to follow along with this if you do plan on following along. So let's just add, just stick with some grass for now, and I'm going to reduce the minimum distance so that means that they will have no distance between them. They will be as packed as they can be, and I'm going to increase the density to like 50 or something, just so we can see what's going on. So we've got a couple of basic functions down here, akin to what was originally in the old particle system with your rotation. So you can rotate them. You can rotate them on the Y, the X. You can rotate them on the Z manually. We can add random rotations to X, Y, and Z. We can set the rotation to object or normal. So based on the normal, so like Z will be outwards on vertical faces, and object will be upwards always because it's using the object's coordinates. So if we were to rotate this and apply the rotation, you can see everything points up now because it's new. Z was the way it was pointing. And scale again is object and world, and this is based on the object itself. So if you were to scale this up, the grass would scale with it while it's set to object, and if you scale this up while it's set to world, the grass will retain its correct size based on Blender units, which is good for covering large scenes, being accurate to real world values. So we're going to leave it on world for now, and we're going to leave the rotation on object. And we're not really going to touch these because they're pretty self-explanatory. We're going to look at our modifier system. Before we do that, let's jump onto the density map. So density map allows you to click this little weight button, and it will throw you into the weight paint tool, where you can just paint stuff on manually and have your grass or rocks or whatever form where you want. And then we can go to something like weights and smooth it out. Use the smooth weights, a factor of like 1, and let's do 10 iterations or 100 iterations to blend it and feather it out. So you can do things like that, like, again, akin to the old particle system. So we've introduced that or brought it in, made sure that it stayed. But let's ignore weights for a minute. Move on to the modifiers. So let's add some modifiers. We got LODs and camera mask, which we're not going to do right now. I'll do them in a separate video because they probably require a little bit longer. I don't want to keep this one short. So we've got scatter around, height mask, slope mask, normal math, and a path mask. So we're going to go with the height mask first, and I'll show you scatter around in a second. So we're going to go height mask. And what this will do, this will use, again, real world or real Blender units. So we can see that our item is like 6 meters tall. So let's go back here, and we can see that the minimum height is 0. We can drop this below, and as you can probably see, that the 0 line is here, and the grass is hitting it. but from sort of this angle, it looks like it's not. That might have something to do with this randomized scale, but I imagine it's just an odd offset in Blender's unit system. So we keep the minimum height where it is, and the maximum height you can see you can bring up. And if we hit like 6 meters, you can see the last blade appears on the top there, which is 6.25 was this. Yeah, so let's bring our height up a bit, because I want my grass to end here. And I'm gonna bring the scale down a touch, just because I want to show you how you can blend this out, how you can fade this out. So I'm gonna have to crank up my density a second, guys. Sorry, I might get a little bit slow on the viewport. Let's just drop this button, show the asset option, show the asset object, so we can hide the asset object and just use points, which will speed up your viewport. So if you just want to quickly visualize where things will be, this is a good option. So now let's head back to our modifiers and our maximum height. Let's bring it down to there. And now let's go from particles to vertex. And what this will do is this will create a vertex map. So it'll create an actual vertex group, and white is where things will be and black is where things will not be. And any variant or any color in between that will apply kind of like a density map to that area. So if it's gray, then it would only apply 50% of the particles. And if it's black, it would apply no particles. And if it's white, it'll apply 100% of the particles. So let's head out of our vertex map, which is just this little mask icon here. And we can see that we've already got some feathering going on. So if we look at particles, we can see that's a hard line. And if we go back to vertex, we can see it's soft and it feathers out. And this is where you use this. Oh, that's the minimum one. This is where you use this for your maximum height. You can see that if we've got it to 0, it's very hard. And if we've got it to 1, it's much softer. And again, the bottom one, I'm gonna increase the minimum height, because I want there to be some fall off where the grass kind of scatters. So I'm gonna stick this to something like that and get it to be feathered here. And then these patches that you can see, there's a noise mask inside here, and it's this one when you're using the vertex. So you can see that there. And if we go back to particles and just randomize the scale down quite small, and then head back into vertex, we can randomize our edge a bit more now, like that, and reduce our fall off and our minimum height, bring that down. There we go, increase our fall off. So now we've got a little bit like that. And now what I want to do is, I don't want my grass to just like evenly or uniformly grow up the side of a cliff, because that's not what grass does. So we're going to go back to the modifiers tab, and we're going to use a slope mask. And the slope mask will determine the value between a factor of 0 and 1, how much of a slope that you want this to be on. So we can imagine that this is a 6% incline, 0.6 out of 1, which would be 6 out of 100. And as we move this up, we can see that the incline increases, the percentage of the incline increases. So at 5, it will form across an angle that is at a 50% incline or lower, which is what we've got here. And I want to feather it out again. So I'm going to use vertex, and I'm going to add a bit of a fall off to it. And we're going to bring the slope factor down a touch and just add the fall off up a little bit more. So now we can see that we've got grass that's like forming on the flatter parts. You can invert any of these masks, and you can add to like an existing mask. So as we can see here, we've got the height mask. If we hide this and then click add or remove add, you can see that it's adding to some other stuff. So I'm going to leave the add off, because I want my grass to sort of look like this. And I'm probably going to add a path masking because I want like a area to paint on or to draw on. So we're just going to draw a line here and create like a path. And then we just, once we finish drawing it, we just left click again and the mask will appear. And we can select back here and we can invert this and tell it we don't want any particles there rather than having particles there. And we're just going to bring the distance in a bit. And we're going to use the vertex and create some fall off there like that. Okay, that's cool. I'm liking how that looks right now. So that's the modifiers that we're going to use on this one. I don't want to use any more for this particular one, but what I am going to do is I'm going to show you how to do some other stuff. So let's add some rocks in. I want to add some big rocks. So I'm going to place these individually rather than scattering them. So I'm going to click to place, head down to rotation. We're going to randomize all the rotations so the rock will just form randomly. And scale, again, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to randomize the minimum scale to 0.5 and the maximum scale to 1.25. So a rock will form anywhere in between these values. So now that we've set this up, we're just going to go and click to play. Oh, excuse me, hiccups. Click to place. We'll get a little placement icon, and in the bottom left, you'll see you can place objects. We can escape, and we can right click to exit. So I'm just going to pop a rock here. I'm going to pop a rock there. I'm not, because they're huge. So let's delete them. Let's go back here and go back to maximum scale 0.5 and minimum scale 0.1. And let's go click to place. There we go. Much, much better for me. So I like the way they are. Just going to keep placing them and clicking them. And you can click to place on top of each other. So if you want to put another rock on top of one rock, you can do that. We'll delete that one in a second because that looks stupid. There we go. Let's add that there and there. And let's add some over here. And let's add a little one in between and put another one there. Okay, so we've got them. And now we're just going to right click to finish it. I'm going to delete this stupid looking one. And I'm going to delete probably these two. I don't like them. So that's fine. We've got them there. So I'm going to head back to here. And for a minute, just a minute, I'm going to turn these grass particles off just by clicking the little eye toggle to remove them completely from the viewport, just so that we can see what we're going to do next now. So for next one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another grass in here, and I'm going to go to Ferns for this one. I'm going to use the scatter system again. And we're going to add some grass, so let's add it, and then we're going to go straight to the modifiers tab, click on the modifiers, and use the scatter around function. So what we can do now is we can scatter this around things. So I want to put these rocks into a collection. So let's add some of these rocks into a collection because I want to be able to scatter these around. So I'm going to select a couple of them. And then I'm just going to, with me mouse in the key in the 3D viewport, just press M. I'm going to create a new collection. I'm going to call it rocks with caps off and click OK. So we've got that rock collection here. So we just need to go object to collection and select our rocks collection here. As you can see, we've done. I'm going to reduce the radius a bit so they're a little bit closer to the rocks. I'm going to give a lot more of them. So we've got loads of them now. And now we can see that we've got some stuff going around the rocks. What we're going to do is we're also going to add another modifier to it because I don't want this growing up the side here. So we're going to add another modifier and we're going to put another slope mask on just to stop the ferns from growing up these slopes. So let's hide that one and let's go to slope factor and increase that a bit. There we go. That looks nice. So we can have a quick little render and see what's going on. Let's hide everything. So there we go. We can see we've got some ferns growing around our rocks now. And we can see that we've got our rocks in a nice place. So you can probably see that the rocks have got like a little bit of a blue tint to them as they're rendering, and this is because there is some subsurface scattering going on with these rocks. We can change this material just by reducing the subsurface scattering there, turn it right off so you got a little bit quicker. But the subsurface scattering gives a little bit of an extra look to it, just makes it that little bit more realistic. These are procedural, by the way, totally procedural materials on these rocks. So yeah, okay, I'm happy with that. Let's put our grass back to these little dots. And then we're probably just going to add a couple of trees in. So we're going to go to our ash trees, which are the newer trees, and we're going to place these ones again, guys. So we're just going to go and click to place. Don't want to randomize the rotation of all of them, so we're just going to randomize the Z rotation and maximum scale. I imagine, these trees can be up to like 10 meters tall, so we're going to keep that, lower like that. So let's just start clicking and placing some trees. We've got our trees there. Okay. I'm going to stick another one there. And they're looking fine to me. Let's have a quick look. And the leaves on them are huge. And that's because it's using the particle system for the leaves. So I suppose if we scale that up, yeah. So we're probably going to have to get rid of them just because they look silly. Don't worry, when you're using real world units, you won't have this problem. So let's get rid of them. Let's get rid of you because you look silly. And let's just add a tree in. Just one tree. And we'll make sure it's scaled the right size. A minimum scale is going to be 1. Let's click to place just a single tree. Let's put our tree in. Tree's as big as a mountain, guys. We'll put another one in. We'll put another one in. And we'll put another one in. And then what we can do now is we can have a look at the trees. You probably see there's not a lot of leaves on them, and the reason for that is just to keep the viewport nice and fast because our trees animate, and we don't want you getting stuck with tons of trees with tons of leaves. So there you go. We've got oversized trees on a mountain with ferns around some rocks, and just for the sake of it, we can add some more stuff in. So let's just go back to rocks. We're just going to click some of these desert rocks. I'm going to use the scatter around again. I'm just going to scatter them around one tree. Let's go scatter, add some rocks, and we're just going to scatter you around that tree. Let's have a look. Scatter around, pick a tree, nice tree. And we're just going to go to the scatter option again, reduce the distance, bang up the density, like so. And again, the rocks are procedural, so yeah, there's no textures or anything. Probably the density is probably stupid. Let's reduce the density. There we go, yeah. So now we got a tree growing out of some rocks. But that's essentially that one, guys. That's just... we will touch on some of the... Where's everything gone? We'll touch on some of the other modifiers like the LODs, the camera mask, and the normal mask. The normal mask, again, it's similar to the slope mask. We can just we can do that right now, to be fair. We just get rid of them procedural rocks and we get rid of the scatter around and that and the slope mask on that and just add a modifier. See the normal mask here? All you do is you eyedrop a normal type, and what it'll do is it will tell we need to move the rotation of that to normal. And what it'll do is it'll tell geometry nodes that you want to only put these particles on a face that has this X, Y, Z coordinate value. So any face that shares the same value as the one we've selected, it will only apply. stuff to that. So you can see it's only applying it to this direction. And we can go back to the modifiers. You can increase the threshold of this so that you sort of start to expand out of that range of normals. Which I imagine would be useful for putting like moss on the north facing side of a tree or something, which maybe we've got some moss coming in, who knows. But yeah, there we go. That's modifiers for the assets and how to use the assets themselves. Hope you enjoyed. Give us a thumbs up if you did, and a subscribe if you want to hear more content. Join our Discord channel to give us some feedback, requests, all that kind of jazz. Other than that, guys, I will probably see you in the next one. Have a good one.